very good day to all you patriots out there. Welcome back to Tall Ship Tuesdays. I am Captain John Paul Jones. If this is your first time making our acquaintance, welcome aboard. Kindly watch the introduction video to help you get your sea legs. Now I do hope you'll enjoy the special content the crew and I have put together for you this week. A few weeks past, I had told you the story of how Providence and Alfred captured the merchant vessel Mellish, along with 10,000 winter uniforms that were sent to the Continental troops in order to make the lads a wee bit more comfortable during the cold winter months. Telling the story of those uniforms puts me in mind to tell you another tale, and one in which I had no small part. I think sometimes we undervalue the importance of uniforms. See, many of the common sailors have no uniforms at all. They wear the outfits and clothing that they own themselves. Having a proper uniform is one of the ways in which we differentiate between the officers and the common sailors. I had heard that when the Continental Congress had determined to create a navy, they were of the mindset that the officers' uniforms should be of a simple and sober appearance. However, for the men who had volunteered to serve, the idea of taking on the guise of a parson had no appeal to them. When I arrived in Philadelphia, the other officers had already decided upon a design that was more in line with the traditional attire of a military officer. We each had our own tailors, of course, but all of us had a similar design, and you would not find a uniform much different from that which I wear now. Alas, we had not foreseen a flaw in this plan. In making ourselves the very picture of Continental Navy officers, we had made ourselves a wee bit too obvious to the enemy. Let me explain. The British Navy is the finest in the world. When I first set sail with the Continentals, our fleet consisted of only 6 ships, 2 of which were smaller than Providence. It was clear that our victories would not be in naval battles of any kind. They would be in capturing and making prizes of these smaller merchant vessels. See, the British depended on the merchant vessels to deliver their supplies, and were determined to capture any continental ships or privateers that might interfere. And so, when the British found a ship that they had not recognised, they would train their glasses upon the captains and the officers aboard the ship. If they spotted the telltale red on the officers' uniforms, they would know it was a continental ship, and they would prepare to fire the guns as soon as they drew alongside. Now, being outgunned, our only hope lay in escape. And escaping was much more likely if the British did not know where our loyalties lay. Were we friends, or were we foes? Should they begin pursuit and be prepared to engage in battle, or should they continue on their course? The greater the confusion in the British, and the longer they didn't know what side we were on, the greater the chance of our escape. And so I devised a plan. After our last voyage, we decided to put into port at Boston, where I was to meet with certain other captains, and I would lay my idea before them. It was most gratifying to find that they received my idea quite warmly. After the winter passed, in March I was to meet with the Marine Committee of the Continental Congress. I was to discuss certain other things, including, not least of which, was my next command. But I made certain to bring to them this issue of these uniforms. I regret to say that while the committee was not directly opposed, they did not see the urgency of the matter. Indeed, I do not think they even put it to a vote. But perhaps you will understand me when I say that when one sees the correct course of action, there is a time when one does not require the correct authorization to proceed. Yes? Yes, and I think indeed this is a thought that is common to many of us. When we know that our cause is just, we sometimes must take action to protect the lives of people, regardless of whether we may be moving faster than the politicians. The officers took action. We decided to adopt a uniform that resembled greatly that of what the British officers were wearing at the time. We decided to trade in the red facings here with a creamy white. We also decided to trade in the red vests that we wear and our blue breeches with white versions as well. Through a spyglass, we became indistinguishable from our enemy, and thus much harder to attack and fight, and thus much safer. There may come a time in your life when you find that you must act when those in power are slower to do so. I find that even though I've only been in this country for about 2 years now, that a lot of Americans are willing to act in such a manner. I admire it. In fact, I think I'm becoming myself a bit more of an American with every day that passes. Well now, I believe the time has come for me to thank you for your time and to bid you a good day.